it's me, Karan Ashley. You know me as Aisha, the Yellow Power Ranger, and I'm joining my friend Carnell Holley to promote Rangerstop and POP, my show that I co-own with my really good friend Nakia Baris and Michael Vioni. Come and join us in Atlanta. It's the final Ranger stop. We are going to kick it. We're going to have the best party ever, and we want you to be there June 13th through the 15th. It's Morphin time.
MoMoCon. It's Atlanta's answer to Comic-Con. You won't want to miss it.
Who would like to start out with the first question? Wow, I've never seen so many hands raised so quickly or violently. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm really nervous. I do apologize.
Oh, don't be nervous.
But how does it feel being a woman of color on such a popular TV show? Representing for us. How did that affect you in your role?
Man, you know what? It's amazing, obviously. I mean, it's funny because Walter Jones, who was the first Black Ranger, we talk about this all the time. Like when we were on the show, we were so like hyper focused on, oh my gosh, I'm on a TV show, I'm a series regular. Like when you're an actor, being a series regular on a TV show is like the biggest thing. And I don't think we knew we were the first, but we didn't know we were the first until way later, and we got to meet all of you, and our fans had grown up, and we're doing Comic-Cons, and the stories we've heard and the impact that it's made. And I always thought, wow, it's such an amazing show because it is a cultural show and everyone's a hero, but you just don't get the gravity of how it resonated with people until you meet them. And until you see a girl, a young Black girl that looks like you, and they go, for the first time in my life when I was a kid, I looked up to you, and you made a difference in my life. You were a hero. You weren't just a friend, you were a hero. And it just like, we get emotional, we've cried. I mean, it's just like one of those things that it's larger than life. And I think, I love Power Rangers for that, because Power Rangers has never been scared to give every kid someone that looks like them. And I had lunch with one of the executives like very recently, and she just like, that's their focus. Their focus is every kid should feel like a hero, and I just think that that's something that Hollywood still hasn't figured out, and we've been around 25 years and they still don't get it, how successful this show was and how important that is. So it's beyond amazing. It's the gift that we never expected to get.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Before you played, and before Walter and Miss I forgot her name,
Twee
Trang left the show. I didn't notice this when I was growing up, but when I noticed it, their colors represented their color.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it now, knowing that it was kind of reversed?
We always thought it was weird that people kind of got stuck on the Black Ranger being black and the Yellow Ranger being yellow, but they never questioned the White Ranger being white. We were like, that's kind of weird. So we always are like, it didn't mean anything. Like the executives were from overseas, so they didn't know, like they didn't grow up in America, and they don't know how America, the unfortunate history that America has with racism. So it honestly was never a thing, and I hate that it became a thing for people. But once they knew that it was something that people, that was one aspect that people kept getting caught up on, I think it was very important for them to, when they did have a chance to recast some of the characters in the show, to correct that. It's almost like it just highlights where you need to have representation in the room, in an executive room, because you won't know you don't know those type of mistakes, or you don't know those type of things that might, make people go, well, why is that, But yeah, when we got cast, literally there was every color that could have been the Yellow Ranger, every color that could have been the black or the red. So we were just very lucky that we stood out and we were able to get cast for the parts. But I don't even think then that they were really just focused on, let's not make the Yellow Ranger Asian, or let's not make the Black Ranger black. I love how Walter, I go back to Walter because, he was the original Black Ranger, and it kind of focused on his character. But he talks about, he's like, black has always been beautiful to me. Black has always been strong. So I never thought there was anything wrong with a black man being the Black Ranger. Like, I thought that was how it should be, and we should represent power. And so, and I agree completely. But yeah, I don't think we ever thought about it on set because it was never an issue.
Have you ever experienced Japan? When you...
The actors from
No. Well, that
people
too,
sent
but
that.
just going over and just meeting everybody, experiencing the whole.
Oh yeah, well I've been to Japan and it's an amazing place. I wish that we had the opportunity to go there and do a Comic-Con because the actors from Japan have come here, the original actors from the Super Sentai series, and they just, the American fans just love them. Like they were well aware of our show and they're our version of it. But we hope one day we'll be able to figure it all out because they do Comic-Cons a little differently there. So hopefully we'll be able to figure it out. But we've been trying for quite a number of years to figure it out so that the original, or at least some of the original Mighty Morphin people from the series, we can go over and do, a show there and meet our Japanese fans. But I just think it's so crazy that Haim Saban saw that show and said, I'm going to take that show and make this show. Because, that show was not a kid show. It's very geared towards, it was just geared towards adult audiences. And for him to see that and go, I'm going to make this show over here, I just don't know how he figured that out, but I'm so glad he did.
So speaking on the fact that he asked the question about all the Rangers being cast based on their color.
Yes.
It's kind of a good thing in a sense because I've noticed that the Pink Ranger was never really black, and anytime the Pink Ranger, whether it was a black character or minority character, they were always the Yellow Ranger. But you guys always played the prettiest but strongest character as far as the female.
Yeah, I agree. I like the fact that, we did have a Pink Ranger finally. I think it was a couple of years ago. Dino Charge. They had a black Pink Ranger. But you're right. I was always like, I always say the girls who like yellow are the sassy girls. I noticed that the sweet girl next door is like, there's always two types of girls. There's a sweet girl next door or the sassy girl. And the Yellow Ranger girls are definitely sassy. And I did a panel with probably 20 Yellow Rangers. And they were like, yeah, we are the sassy ones. Like we're the ones. And when I got the part, we're the ones who are the loudest at the party. We're the, laugh the loudest. But one thing I realized is that, I love the fact that we were able to create something completely different. Amy Jo was, Kimberly was well established on the show by the time I got there. And I just remember thinking to myself, I was like, I want Aisha to be completely different from Kimberly, but for you to realize that those two girls could be friends because of their differences. And so I kind of set out every day to just do it a little different than she did. But yeah, I love yellow. I never had any desire to be pink.
I love yellow too.
Thank you.
So I want to ask, so back in the 90s, late 90s, early 90s, do you feel that now we have a better understanding of ethnicity and the appropriate cultural representation?
I don't know that we do. Sometimes I think that we've gone 10 steps forward, and then I realize we've gone 10 steps back. And I think that there's a certain section of us that have progressed. We've progressed. And kids, the beautiful thing about children and watching a television show, they don't think any of that. All they want to see are the Zords. They love the color that they love for whatever reason, and they just want to be a part of the team, in some sort of, kids all weekend have been coming up to my booth and I'm like, which Ranger would you be? And they'll tell me I want to be this color, and and it's never based on race. And I just wish that as adults, when we grow up, we don't forget about that. You don't forget about that. That's what I love, that our fans still watch Power Rangers, and they still watch it. Now they're watching it with their children, and they're teaching them those same lessons. And I hope that those kind of things continue to resonate with them, and we continue to grow. But it's always those few bad apples that set us back. But I'm just a positive person, and I just always approach it as positively as I can. So I hope I answered your question.
You did. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So should we be seeing you in any the ones where at least with a Master Morpher or anything like that?
You know what? They've asked me to come back to the show quite a few times, and I haven't been able to do it only because the show is non-union, and it's just one of those things where, not to bring up the bad side of Power Rangers, but the production itself has always never valued the actors that have been on it. They've never valued our contribution to making these characters come to life, and they will, the offers that they've offered us, they want you to fly across the world, be there for 2 weeks and pay you very minimally, and it's like real life is here, and not that anything, it has to be about, the money, or it has to be about that, but I know my worth as an actress, and I just kind of like, well, if you can do it for this, then I'll go, and it's never anything extraordinarily exuberant. It's just what I feel is fair. So hopefully one day we'll be able to figure it out. But that show, they've made over $6 billion, and I'm like, if they wanted to put the band back together, they surely have the means and opportunity to do it. But they're not a nostalgic franchise. So I don't think they've never really wanted to do that. And I think they don't realize the importance of the nostalgia factor of our show. And for 2 years, like leading up to the new movie that they did in 2017, all we were asked are you guys going to make a cameo? Are you guys going to be in the movie? All they wanted was a cameo from all of us. And luckily they got 2 of them to go, but it was so quick and so fast. And I felt like, if you're gonna bring Tommy and Kimberly back, you should have gave them a line. You should have given them like a part of the plot. Like, they deserve that. They created these characters that you're recreating. But they're not a nostalgic, franchise. They're just moving on to the next series and the next and the next. So hopefully one day they will, they'll realize the importance and what the fans really want. The fans really want, a real reunion with the characters really involved in the plot. They really want just to get some of that magic back from their childhood.
So, speaking of nostalgia, do you feel that is why Rangerstop and conventions like that are Ranger-based focused are so popular?
Absolutely. Like, it's so amazing. Like, this is the thing. I remember talking to a promoter probably like 10 years ago, and he was like, Power Rangers just aren't popular. Nobody wants to meet a Power Ranger at a Comic-Con. And I was like, what? And this is like an older guy, he's 50. He didn't watch the show. Like, that wasn't, it was probably his children did, but he had no clue. And I was like, you're gonna eat your words, because you don't know, this franchise is very popular. And sure enough, we've been doing Comic-Cons for 12 plus years now. And you're right, we have, shows like Rangerstop and Power MorphiCon, and even some of the bigger shows, they bring us all out, and I mean, people are lined up, and we get to meet as many fans as possible. But yeah, that's where the power of our fandom, they have not left. Like, they still watch the show. Their kids are now watching. We've literally affected 3 generations, 25 years, and the show is still on TV. I mean, that not a lot of shows can say that. The toys are still being re-released, and people are still buying them. It's crazy. But yeah, we and that's one of the reasons why I kind of said, why are we sitting at home waiting for a Comic-Con to call us? Let's create our own. And me and Nakia Baris and Mikey from Rangerstop, we created Rangerstop and POP, which is here in Atlanta, and it's June 21st to the 23rd. It's obviously Power Rangers and pop culture. We're not going to just roll out 30 Rangers. We decided we wanted to make it a more diverse show, because we know people love Pokemon, so we brought Veronica Taylor to come in. People love 90s nostalgia shows, so we brought Kel Mitchell, who was in all that, and Keenan and Kel. We know that people love video games, so we're bringing in Johnny Cruz from Overwatch. So we're just gonna have fun. We're creating a new show, and all the startup shows like our show and all these other shows, we're very supportive. I mean, we literally walked MoMoCon all weekend, and we were inviting other shows to come to our show and said, look, we'll give you a free organizer table. Just come to our show. Here's free tickets. Pass out as many flyers as you want. We want the community, the Comic-Con community and the Atlanta community to all be involved, and we just want to pack the house and have a good time. So, yeah, all of you that are here will get free tickets. I am the free ticket fairy. And if I don't have enough, come to our booth. We'll give you free tickets there.
That's true.
Yes.
Since you mentioned it, Kel Mitchell is going to be one of the producers on all that, the one that's coming back.
They know how to do a franchise. I mean, think about this. You have a franchise that was hugely popular. They're bringing it back, and they brought Keenan and Kel to be producers on the show. That's how you do it. Like, right? That's like, they knew the value of those guys and their characters, and they're so funny. It's crazy. I'm sorry, I totally interrupted. You're next. I totally interrupted your question.
Well, I was about to get to, like, especially when I was a kid in the 90s and seeing the stuff now, how do you feel like Hollywood deals with like nostalgia, especially things that they're trying to market for kids of a new generation?
That's a good question. I think Hollywood does an okay job, because what Hollywood's kind of gotten stuck in recently is the reboot. They want to reboot everything, which is fine because some of the reboots work. Some of them we've loved, we've been very entertained by. But I do love when if they're going to do that, I still feel like you got to bring back some of those original people, because that's where the magic lies. You know, that's why people loved it. So I love like they're doing all that, and I love that those guys are involved, and I love that they're not just involved as producers, but they're actually on the show and helping to introduce a new younger cast.
The entire cast.
Yeah, and it's the entire cast is coming back. So it's like, how smart, you know? They're bringing back what made us what we loved back in the 90s, and they're introducing some new kids to carry the torch, you know, to pass the torch on to. So I just think it's the smartest thing. Yes.
Yeah, I have like so many questions.
I love questions.
First question. As a kid growing up, I had to learn that every TV show that you seen for kids was basically a toy commercial that just ran for 20 minutes.
Basically, yeah.
So when they started doing your toys, how did that affect you? Like seeing yourself as a black doll somewhere?
It's crazy, because I think everybody in their life, like at least I did. I grew up thinking I would, you know, I had a dream of being Wonder Woman. So Power Rangers was the closest thing I got. I got to be a Power Ranger.
That's Nubia.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. But you know what I'm saying? Like every kid at some point was a superhero. You played superhero with your friends, your cousins, outside. You had the towel wrapped around your neck. I had my little bike, and we literally were good guys and bad guys. So, you know, it's just weird. It's so crazy to know that there's, you know, merchandise that, you know, is supposed to be my character. It's such an honor that people buy it and bring it to you to sign. And I hoard Aisha dolls. Just don't judge. But anytime I see my action figures, I literally have like 10 or 20 of those action figures. But I think one day, like, if I ever have kids or my nieces and nephews, I'll have something that they'll go, my aunt used to be a Power Ranger, and she was a super, and they have something that is theirs. So I just hoard it, and I have a whole room of them. And my husband, it tells me to stop, but I won't.
We have time for one more question.
Okay, so normally in a situation, typecasting,
Yes.
I noticed that a lot of times, well, actually only one of you guys seemed like they kept doing the whole Power Rangers series, like they couldn't get away
Yeah.
from the whole super thing or thing.
Yeah.
But all of the rest of you kind of
We branched out, yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
Why do you feel like that one person just got so?
I don't know. I think it works for him. I think it's just something like, you know, he's super popular and people love it. Like they love when we come back to the show. And I think it's just a really cool thing. I think the rest of us, when we left, we just thought, I know I did. I was like, I want to try new things. I want to be on different shows. Like as an actor, I want to challenge myself. Like I had the honor and pleasure of being on Kenan and Kel. And like literally, I told Kel recently at a con, I was like, it was like a comedy 101. I was like, those guys were funny on a whole nother level. Like it was just God's blessing to make their comedic timing as sharp as it was. Not all of us are born with that. So for me, I was just watching everything that they did. Every single take would be different, but would be equally hilarious. Like it was just one of those things, and I had the pleasure of going on and working on the Steve Harvey show. I actually was a recurring character on there. I got to do,
Hanging with Mr. Cooper.
I didn't do Moesha. I
Hanging with
did
Mr. Cooper.
one-on-one. I did I did the Parkers. I did a bunch. Like I literally made my rounds. But I got to work with all these major comedians, and I was like, how do I keep getting, you know, cast for this? I'm not even nearly as funny as them. But I realized when you're on a show, you don't have to be as funny. It's just the connection and just the response and and I learned so much. So, but yeah, I think anybody, if you set your mind to it, I think typecasting, of course, sometimes you do get locked into stuff, but I actually got parts because I was a Power Ranger. I would go on auditions and casting agents were like, oh my God, you're a Power Ranger? Can you sign this for my kid? And then I would get the part. I don't know that it had anything to do with that, but it brought more attention. I at least know that they paid a little more attention to me because they really like the show themselves.
When's Rangerstop and POP?
Rangerstop and POP is in Atlanta, June 21st through the 23rd at the Sheraton Atlanta Hotel. And come party with us. So June 21st through the 23rd. We'll be there. If you want free tickets, come on in.
This video is sponsored by SuperX. Hey fanboys, hey fangirls, Carnell Holley here. SuperX has partnered up with Hasbro to bring us officially licensed Power Rangers activewear. And they are currently on their Series 3 Power Rangers launch. Now, these super suits are on limited runs because they are going fast. So place your order today, not tomorrow, but today. The link is in the description. But don't forget to use my discount code Carnell to save on your purchase.